Welcome to the AR-15 podcast. This show is for you if you just bought your first AR or if you've been building them for years. There is something we can all do to take our black rifles to the next level. My name is Nick Dooley, and I am joined tonight by two very special guests. We have Matt and Heinrich from Geeks Gadgets and Guns.
Thanks for having us, Nick. It's been a while since we last had you over on our show.
Yep.
Good to be here.
Yeah, I should have done that, like, pause that differently so you could have done the intro like you do on your show.
Yeah.
We would have had to talk that through.
Yeah, that takes planning.
I will say this is totally different, though, from what we're going to be doing on our show in about a week. Just so, yeah. So that way people get a couple different aspects of this training class, because there's
a lot.
Really. Oh, yeah.
Well, there's a lot to unpack because this is training not a lot of people have done.
No.
And that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk with you guys about it is so we're going to be talking about night vision training and the TNVC class the guys just took and some of the gear and things they learned with that. And I know that I am taking a different course at the end of the month that will be interesting as well, because I'm going to Nods and Chill.
See, who's putting that one on?
That is at Empire Gun Club in Colorado. And they have Green Line Tactical and stuff come through, but they're doing almost a monthly event with night vision.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is it like a class they do every month, or
so
just to come hang out and we'll do some drills and stuff?
It starts at if you've never been there before, you have to sign up for like the drills and skills and the night vision shoot. So at 5 o'clock you start with drills and low light. Everything after 11 o'clock has to be suppressed, and then it runs till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that will be that's one of those. It'll be an interesting one because I am flying out to go to the class, and I'm going to spend less than 24 hours in Colorado.
I don't turn around.
Well, my plane tickets were cheaper than I could have drove there for. Round trip airfare was $170.
Oh yeah, that couple tanks of gas and some wear and tear on the vehicle, and how many hours on the highway? 16
hours round trip for me.
Yeah, that's cross the line to it's worth flying.
Yeah. This will work. I'm just going to quick zip over and zip back. And then luckily I don't pay for check bags. So this works. But so Garth couldn't join us today. He is having some issues. And I know Heinrich, Matt and I were talking. They're having some farming issues today because Auto Steer is having some issues with the CME.
Yeah, it's like he said Auto Steer, and it's like, oh wait, Northern Lights tonight. Satellites are dying.
Actually,
or going into safe mode.
This is the biggest level of CME event we've had since like 03.
Yeah,
or
I
05.
19 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was driving home from college the last time, and I was on Highway 30 through central Iowa and could see the Northern Lights off in the distance and thought it was a city I was going by, until I was like, no, that's just kind of hanging out there, and it's the entire horizon. That's not just light pollution.
Supposedly you might be able to see this one as far south as Florida on the horizon. Which is that's a lot of energy being dumped into the magnetosphere.
Yeah, I'm excited about going out and trying to see this thing with night vision.
Yes, I am as well. Especially with my upgrades I did today.
I've got the coolest astronomy club night vision patch from Weapons Grade Waifus, and it's like that would be the perfect one to slap on the helmet for tonight.
Yes, it would. So, without any further ado, let's get into what you guys did in your class.
Honestly, a lot of it was getting used to moving in the daylight, getting everybody actually used to moving because you're dropping your cone of vision down to 40 degrees.
Yeah, like there was the normal rifle and pistol drills just to get everyone
Make sure everyone's up to snuff.
Warmed back up, give the instructors a chance to see that everyone's actually as competent as they said they were in the application. Because you're supposed to come into this already having some carbine and some pistol classes before. And then
not 100% green.
Yeah. Yep. You should know how to run your stuff.
Yeah.
And be able to work in the daylight pretty well. So it's like, yeah, got some practice moving around, some practice like how to move around each other.
But really, a lot of that is making sure people are doing it right, because when you're in the dark, there's only so much you can see, even with night vision.
Yep.
Well, and night vision is the cheapest superpower you can buy. Running a monocular, you still don't have depth perception.
Yeah.
To speak of, and that throws a lot of people off when they first start as well.
Honestly, out of the class of 17 people, I believe there were maybe 5 people running monoculars, and the rest of the people were wearing binos.
Yeah, a lot of people had or were renting binos.
Yeah, and they did say this is like one of the least level of rentals they've had in a class. It's like, okay, yeah, we're in the middle of here, and it was insane because everybody, apart from like 2 people, had, you need a degree for this job. We had one law enforcement officer, like 3 or 4 different doctors.
Trying to think. Was it one or 2 optometrists and like
there were 2 optometrists at a minimum,
like 3 anesthesiologists.
Yeah.
Yep. I've met a couple of those dudes before, just because from training with that group, and done some long range stuff with them, and those guys are not hurting for gear.
No. There was actually somebody running a gray market Engol in the class.
Yes.
And
there were much better IR lasers than the one I was running.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later.
I think we went in at the absolute budget tier of any of this, because I'm just sitting here going, no, things are expensive, family, that kind of stuff. And
then like you go in a budget tier, and it's one of those like, this is still an amazing amount of money, where people are like, oh man, like how much money did you drop on this? And it's like, only about a quarter of what I could have.
Yeah.
Apparently somebody recently had ordered quad tubes with their special version. Do you remember what that was called, Heinrich?
The high gain or super gain?
Yeah, super gain. So somebody ordered quads with super gain, and the price tag on that was over $60,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like, dear God.
Yeah. Like nice truck money.
Like,
actually, honestly, anymore, that's like basic level truck if you're going to a dealership new.
Is it base level, or is it 1 or 2 upgrades?
That's about what you'll get like an F-150 XLT Super Cab for.
Yeah, like
prices are nuts.
Once you put the upgrades, which are really the things that everyone is going to want, like air conditioning and
4-wheel drive.
Yeah, 4-wheel drive and that kind of stuff that they should be standard, but they make you pay for extra so they can say that the starting price is lower.
I think electric windows, cruise control, and AC are 100% standard anymore.
They are, because you have to custom order vehicles with crank windows, and it is a rather expensive add-on.
Kind of like getting something with a manual transmission.
Yeah.
Yes, but anyways, now that we've squirreled down that rabbit hole, with $60,000 nods that none of us have,
Yeah.
so let's. So you guys showed up, and day one you started probably in the daylight, like in the evening.
No, it was like
Afternoon.
3:30 in the afternoon to basically 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
By the time it was all said and done, I believe it was about 24 hours of class time
Oh wow.
across
So
2
that's
days.
Yeah. It was like,
Yeah,
I want to
you
say
got
it was like 11 and a half, 12 hours each
per
day.
Yeah, second day was like 1:30 in the afternoon
Yeah.
till
2.
2-ish in the morning.
I looked at my clock and it was like a quarter after 2 as we were rolling out.
Oh yeah. So daylight is just running drills like a standard rifle class, I take it.
Yeah, that was all of the
Confirming zeros too.
Yeah, check your zeros, get familiar with what their drills are,
How
in the
they want you
daylight.
to safe your weapon, how they want you to stand, they want you to hold your weapon.
Yep.
Because some of these drills, you actually do have people moving around each other, or you're coming up next to your partner for covering fire while you're
Mhm.
doing it. So you've got to be able to come up to them safely, be able to draw your weapon, fire, and make sure you're not aiming at them, they're not aiming at you.
Yep. Yeah.
We've got to be able to do it safely and doing it in a line. So
lots of
low
reps.
carry.
Yeah, lots of reps and being really particular about safe gun handling,
Which
because
I don't think there was any issues at all in our class.
no one
with that.
they warned about some almosts, but no one actually had any actual problems.
I think the closest we came was somebody ended up doing the hot brass dance.
I still have a burn on the side of my neck, but I was able to keep pointed down range.
I wasn't sure if that was you or somebody else.
I think someone else caught a piece of brass too, but
because I know you can handle that and keep control. I think the other person is the one that was getting a little wonky with it.
Yes, the brass hickey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun to catch a 5.56 case sitting between the armor strap and the side of my neck.
Like, when it rolls right down on top of the collarbone, like right in there underneath, under the blouse and the t-shirt.
Yep.
And just sits there and marinades.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the good stuff.
Yeah, get you a good or a good brand.
Oh yeah, it's when it blisters afterwards, you know you did the right work.
Yep. You took it the right way and didn't freak out and cause problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's only happened to me a dozen times or so. You'd think one would get a callus there.
Hopefully it wouldn't happen enough to get a callus, but
yep. So running drills and working around people, which for people who've never done it, even in the daylight, can be kind of difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it's people you've never met before.
Yeah.
Most of, some of us had met somewhat and taken classes together, but
I recognize some guys from previous classes and a bunch of guys there. You could tell that there were like 3 or 4 groups of like 2 dudes that have run a lot of classes together.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Kind of like you get when you're in a higher level class like that. But
hey, we're doing this together.
Yeah. It's like,
it makes sense. Not to mention after class, you have someone else to bounce. Hey, what were your thoughts on this? What'd you take from this? And getting that separate perspective really helps us pull a little bit more out of the training.
Yep. What do you have for notes? Remind me of what we did for this.
Remind me what problems my gun had versus what problems your gun had.
Yeah. Don't run sketchy oil when it's going to be like 30 degrees at night.
Yeah.
Now define sketchy.
It was oil that I'd gotten free in a swag bag somewhere, and I just stuck in my
Oh yeah.
my repair kit, so I had a sealed bottle of oil, and
But
my gun was a little bit dry, so we just slobbered a whole bunch of that oil into it, and I think as it got cold, that stuff started gumming up.
Yeah, but Heinrich, that was also one of those that had a secondary material in it, and I think it had substrated out slightly.
Yeah, something weird was going on with it, so I cleaned it all out of my gun. The first night it got cold at the end of the night, and my rifle choked.
We were having a lot of issues with rifles choking, which
Yeah.
is ironic because the way things go is both of our rifles are consecutive serial numbers. And
Yeah.
we were both having very similar issues.
Yeah, like the Brownells, What Would Stoner Do 2020 rifles.
Mm-hmm.
And like should work great because you've used one in competition before.
Yep, I ran brutality with it, and the one issue I had in that did not have any of that issue, but I was having the PDQ lever, which is the one that comes above and it's the forward assist on the right side.
Yeah, the ambidextrous bolt catch on that they put into the What Would Stoner Do.
When I was starting out, that was locking my bolt open just randomly while going through the mag.
Well, so it'd be like fun.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm firing, and it locks the bolt open. And then we think that it was giving us some issues closing again, though I did notice once I lubed my gun, I was having issues fully going into battery. So maybe the bolt carrier was a little too tight of tolerance, and that was possibly giving issues. I don't know. I just know that that would have been a nice place to have a forward assist, but I'd pretty much just, okay, I've got my glove on. I'm pushing the bolt carrier physically forward and the little notch on it.
Mm-hmm.
Got it done, got through the night, swapped lowers the following day and ran things well, which that did bring up something that I found was definitely one of those things of a carbine adjustable butt stock is totally worth it if you're wearing armor. I don't care how much anyone says, hey, we adjusted this. This is the length most people use. I found when trying to use the What Would Stoner A2 butt length, I'm kind of barely getting it out here, and I was able to get a much better position when using an adjustable.
You also, Matt, are not a small human. And
no, I'm kind of like a blueberry, especially when we're wearing plates and ammo.
There's a guy on Instagram that talks about like athletes, and he calls it the bison class athlete. You know, not the victim weights. And it's like, yeah, I'm gonna adopt that. We're the bison class of people. And it's when working through with those things, I too have that, and as someone with an abnormally long length of pull, and has done, you know, like actual combat operations with an A2. No, I have an A2, like I have an M16A4 for nostalgia. If I was going to grab something to run with armor, that would be the last choice.
The only good thing about it was I was 9 pounds and like 5 ounces for the entire gun with flashlight, red dot, magnifier, suppressor, and then a PEC 15 clone.
Yeah, I would trying to think. So I swapped my lower to the What Would Stoner Do sort of lower that I had built years ago when the project first started on a Tegra carbon fiber lower. And yeah, that I am a fun-sized person, so length of pull turned out to be pretty important. And I slid that stock way in when I was trying to use it with armor.
So I am weighing my rifle for night vision stuff. Rifle at my AR port. I am currently at 9 pounds 6 ounces.
Cool.
And
how long is your barrel?
This is a 11.5-inch barrel with a Yankee Hill turbo, EOTech magnifier, flashlight, and PEC 15 knockoff.
Yep. Mine was 16-inch barrel, Sandman S, and Rain 3 with the Somo Gear PEC 15 clone, which that was an interesting one because definitely the trainers, whenever I use that thing, is like, holy hell, you should probably turn that on low. This is on low. Jesus.
All the power.
I mean, I think at the end drill, we were doing like 100 yards at night on steel plates.
Mm-hmm. 50, 70, 100, somewhere in there.
I am disappointed that so few people in the class decided to go, all right, I'm going to use this opportunity to try doing some stuff that using a laser aiming device is going to allow. Like putting the gun in a different place than your head and shooting that way.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of those things where, again, as the token early GWAT baby, guys were taught, when we first started learning how to do night vision, which now that you guys did that, my story of here, jump in and drive and keep up at 45 miles an hour.
Yeah.
now you're seeing more and more how insane that was and mildly terrifying. But that was how they would train guys who had PECs. Was like there were some like higher tier units that were running them that would run in and they would actually hold the gun at their hip and just use the laser to aim.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're clearing houses and stuff, so it wasn't like 100-yard shots.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally doable on 100 yards.
Yeah. Part of the getting your laser zeroed that we were going through in the class covered like how far, what your offset's going to be and what you can reasonably do for shooting with the laser and point of aim, point of impact stuff.
Yep. And so Matt, you said you were running the Sumo Gear PEC 15 knockoff.
Right.
And Heinrich, what were you running then for your laser?
So
I know that people who listen to the show have heard you talk, and the three of us have talked a lot about this in the last year with various night vision stuff. And you were building an illuminator come laser like yourself?
So the illuminator I had built myself with 3D printed a housing and stuck a 4-watt 15-degree IR laser floodlight. So it's like it's supposed to be built into a security camera for like illuminating parking lots at 100 meters. And so I stuck that thing on the end of my rifle. And then for my aiming laser, I was scrolling through Instagram and saw an ad for SMS Laser doing like airsoft toy stuff. And it was clicked over there just to see what it was. And it was $100 Instagram advertised laser. So got it to see how bad it would be and if it would actually hold up. And surprisingly, it did actually hold zero and survive the whole class.
Right on. Which that's it's actually really solid for like $100 laser. Like
yeah.
Oh yeah. 500 rounds or more.
Yeah. So it's a decent round count. A little bit of getting banged around. Stuff got loaded into trunks for going from one site to another for some indoor in the dark moving around. And like aside from,
and when we say that, there no padding at all, just empty Pelican case, pile all the rifles in, throw it in the back of the truck and drive 10 miles.
Yeah.
Hey, that sounds like how I do things. So
yeah.
So I'm really debating when I fly this time. I have a Pelican 1650 that's just kind of become my like bomb box gearbox.
Mm-hmm.
And it fits an 11.5-inch gun inside of it. And I'm like, if I just like wrapped it in a little bit of foam, that EOTech will hold zero. I can just lock it with my clothes and my ammo and my boots for the course and just have one roller bag that's checked. That when TSA pops it open, it's going to be like, what do you do? I'm like, just work.
I'm not allowed to tell you.
Just work stuff. So the SMS laser actually worked well, you say?
It worked decently. I didn't have it zeroed quite all the way, so my offset was kind of wonky. And the longer range shots on steel, I wasn't able to aim with the laser. But the illuminator on it was actually, or the white light on it worked out okay. I was able to hit the targets with that and use my red dot.
And of course, you were running a Bindon setup.
Yep.
So this was the laser setup you were using?
Yep, that's the one. The 118650, and it's got a wonky proprietary tape switch. And the selector on it is doesn't have an actual offsetting.
Okay,
so,
it's just whatever
whatever combo of emitters you want going, you set the switch to, or set that dial switch to, and you got a momentary tape switch and a
continuous
latching button on there.
Now the zeros, you'll notice up there on top, Nick, there's those two screws there.
Yep.
Very tiny Allen wrench. 1 zero's your IR, 1 zero's your green or blue or whatever visible color laser.
Green and red.
Well, and they are not marked. They are not marked in direction. They are not marked which one you're zeroing. So basically, you need at least 2 guys to be doing it. It's like, am I moving the right direction?
Kind of, yeah. So it's
pure Chinesium.
Yeah, it is. When I ordered it, it took like 3 weeks to get to me because it was still in the container, not even to the West Coast yet.
If I remember right, the visible laser was the 2 nearest to the edge, and the 2 farthest from the corner are the IR laser.
You are correct.
It. But of course, you have no idea when you're trying to work with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I did have to do some filing on the Picatinny mount for it to have it actually grab the rail. Otherwise, it was too narrow. So it's like if you want something cheap to stick on a 1022 for shooting critters, it'd be decent, but I wouldn't push it for anything more than that. Even though it didn't die during the class, I'm going to get something a little bit better now that I know what I'm doing.
Oh, and now they have a no visible white light one that's just an IR illuminator.
Yeah.
Which is definitely what Heinrich could have used.
I could have used that one. The IR laser on that one is also kind of bloomy. When I was shooting it at
all of them are bloomy though.
The green laser was better. The IR laser, when you shot it at a 15-yard paper target, it was projecting a giant 6-8 inch spot.
Yeah.
Like it had a bright center, but then it was bright enough that it was kind of making your nods autogate. So I can't really see to aim with this thing in IR laser.
That is unfortunate, but paper sometimes does that just because, especially with paper or cardboard, depending upon what type of reflective surface they have on it.
Yeah, we did a lot of shooting on paper, which definitely I had some of that creating things.
Your illuminator was bouncing a lot of light back.
Well, how does your ultra floodlight homemade light from hell work?
Didn't.
At the class, the batteries must have gone dead before I got to class, and I didn't want to tear it apart. I actually have to take some of the screws out to get the batteries out of it. So it's like, oh, I'm just gonna pull this thing off and figure it out later. But
that's fair.
Yeah, I've running it just in the backyard. That thing is bright because it noticeably or the gain on the tube noticeably turns down when you switch that thing on.
Yeah, but what's the power measured in with what we're typically running?
Most illuminators are supposed to be milliwatts, and this one is 4 watts. So it's only like 1,000 times higher than a civilian laser. But since it's not commercial, it's legal for you to build it for yourself as long as you're promised not to shine it in anyone's eyes.
Yeah,
or at any airplane.
I just can't sell it to anyone.
The terrifying aspect about that is like when you're talking full power PEC 15, just the illuminator can be an eye hazard.
Yeah.
And it's way less powerful even on the military power.
Mm-hmm.
But like the aiming laser on high, actually the illuminator on high, at 10 meters, it can cause skin damage on a full power PEC 15. What the hell would yours do?
Oh, mine
work as a tanning bed.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be eye safe according to the data sheet that I got from DigiKey. So because it's a diffuse
I guess
like 15-degree cone, not a collimated beam.
Yeah, but even
I wouldn't look at it,
that.
but it's unlikely to hurt your eyes. The intended use is a security light for cameras. So
now I think we should bring up something that you did use, Heinrich, is you ended up mounting that SMS forward on a riser rail coming off of your optic mount.
Yes.
Which means it's way back on the receiver, even though it's hanging over the fore-end rail. Mm-hmm. And when you attach the owl on there, you're nice and shining your laser back on yourself.
Yeah. I was using a cloud defensive owl mounted on my handguard, and the way I had wanted to mount it with the light body on top of my rail and the activating pad down on the side, managed to put the back of the flashlight in front of the IR laser port on that SMS laser when it was up on that mount. So it's like it reflected all of that light straight back at us.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, that it was invisible, so it's like I was looking down at the Connex we were using as a billboard to zero our lasers on. I was like, why is there no spot there? Look at my rifle.
This is the setup you're using?
Yep. So I've got an Arasaka riser for a SIG Romeo 5. And
with their Extendo Picatinny bar?
Yep, with their Extendo bar. So that I could have that laser out on that and not on the slightly flexible carbon fiber handguard.
Yep.
Then I've got a Juliet magnifier on a Unity mount.
That's a
nice
big Juliet Micro.
Yeah. It's the flip to center magnifier mount, which is expensive but really nice. It was worth it because it doesn't swing up and over and hang off the side. It just drops down below your line of sight.
And that is one of the few that actually works with the SIG pattern, because I've only ever found SIG and the Unities work with the SIG pattern of mounting.
Well, naturally, because SIG did their own thing.
Yeah.
Yay.
I mean,
but they're priced nice.
Yeah, they are. I should, I've got. Well, the Vortex one might be the same as the SIG, because the SIG is a 2-screw, right?
It's
The
a
SIG is a
4-screw
4.
pattern.
Oh, SIG's a 4.
Yeah.
Because I just had to look, and this Vortex one is a 2-screw.
Okay.
The EOTech is a 2-screw as well.
Yep.
Yeah. That Unity mount fits both patterns.
Yeah.
So.
Which that's really nice. But you did end up ditching your magnifier partway through the class.
Yeah. When we were shooting at night, I did pull the magnifier off for all the close-up work, because at night and close up, I didn't need the magnifier. So it's like, well, this has a quick detach on it. I'm just going to pop this off and drop a few ounces and not have the magnifier there to get knocked around. So,
which is a different reason than why I ditched mine partway through, because
all right, so I do want to talk about yours now, Matt, because when I look at your setup, it looks like you have the same like pick rail dongle hanging off.
That's correct.
But you went the opposite direction.
Yes, it's actually designed that you can go either way with it. So
it's bi-curious.
The beauty of this Arasaka mount is it's cheap compared to even the Unity or anything else. The only thing is we already had to have our stuff built out before that new Noise Fighters riser actually launched. I think that was a week before class when that came out. So this mount, $100, 2.26 inch height. But if you use that Extendo Picatinny bar, it's an extra $60. But you can use standard height magnifier mounting. So you don't have to buy the Arasaka the Unity $200+ flip to side or flip to center or any of that. You can use your standard mount. I will say that the base mount that comes with the SIG Juliet micros really sucks. It sticks out really wide. It's not quick to disconnect, and you have to push a button in to get it to fold. For $100, SIG sells you one that just flips to side. It's an ounce lighter and slimmer, all around better. Just why not sell the gun with that instead?
Because monies.
Yeah. The flip side is, I think I'm $300 into it, even with buying that secondary mount.
Yep.
All right. And here you can see in that last picture the PDQ lever.
Yep.
And
right there, that was causing you some issues with hanging up.
Yep. And you can see how darn dirty that gun is. And that's after cleaned it after Saturday night, cleaned it partway through Sunday night of the class, and it's still that dirty.
Yeah.
Yep. So, all right, that all tracks and makes sense. And then we go on here, we see that that Sumo Gear, PEC and a Cloud Defensive Rain.
Yep, that's a Rain 3, and the rear switch is the one that operates the Sumo Gear, and the front switch is the one that operates the Cloud. But one thing that I did have is I would double tap to turn on the Sumo Gear, and when firing, the plug on the rear would actually bounce loose enough to turn off. So either I would need to turn the fire on the actual device itself and press and hold, or something else, which I ended up figuring out that the plug for closing the crane port on the Sumo Gear, I can actually wedge that in between the plug and the Rain flashlight, and it would wedge it in there enough that it would not disconnect under recoil. So you'll just see in that picture that the plug is hanging. Yep. And I've got another picture here in a second where you can actually see
right there's your
that little thing. That was enough to keep it staying on and the switch working.
A poor man's friction lock.
It works. It a lot cleaner than throwing a zip tie or something else.
If it's stupid and it works, it's not stupid.
Not to mention you can do it in the field.
Yep.
Yeah.
Field expedient. And running that, you had good luck with that Sumo Gear, you were saying.
Oh yeah, it retained 0 and it was bright as hell. No problem making out or hitting targets at 100 yards. And definitely, we were kind of the only people running clouds, I think. There was a section of the class where they had everyone try and identify something at distance using their white lights. You could tell when we were running our clouds versus everybody else. It's like, dear God.
There was a gasp when I flipped on the owl, when the owl turned on and everyone saw what a cloud light would do.
And people are like,
"Oh,
I'm no longer using a small light. I'm going full size now. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm going full size." It's like
they gasped again when we got to Matt and he turned on that rain.
Yeah, that it's like, damn.
Like it kind of drove home the point that the little bit of premium for a cloud light is probably worth it if you're gonna actually do stuff in the dark.
So I know that Surefire, like, here I'm gonna go blowing a any chance I ever had of Surefire sponsoring us, but like, I like Surefire. They're great lights. They're ultra durable, and yeah, they're the gold standard. They are not the brightest lights in the market, nor do they have the longest throw.
No,
like, they're better than a mag light for damn sure.
And their pistol lights are damn good. I was using X300 through the class. Ooh, that worked perfectly fine.
Yep, I have X300, and then I have a Scout 600 DF that I'm currently running on my night vision rifle. Because
I mean, there is one really damn good reason to be running the Surefire.
Vampire head.
No, not the vampire head. The switch. The fact that you can buy Axion switches or something else like that. Because part of the class is, hey, you need to use both your visible light and visible laser at a time. So for everyone else,
just the factory switch.
Yeah. But we were having to hit 2 switches at a time to get anything going. So you'd have to get your laser on. So double tap that, tap your white light on, get that going. And like we said earlier, there was one guy running an Engall there, and that has a vis override on it. And he had a switch to enable it. So it's just like, I want visible light, one button, turns on both everything. It's like, damn it. That, having run this class and using it, it's like, okay, yeah, that makes so much sense and is completely needed, because visible light, visible laser, one button to get it going on all of it. Yeah. Now, like with mine, the PEC 15, you can have an IR illuminator and an IR laser going at the same time. That one button hit. And the ability to do that would be really nice. Cloud says they're working on a dual switch, but that's not out yet. And I don't even think they're talking about having a 3-lead switch, which would be one to the cloud, one to the standard controls for your laser, and then one for a vis override, which is yet another thing to do on the switch. Are they going to do it? Maybe. They're really good lights, but if you want to do that right now, you have to buy their legacy body, take like a 200 lumen hit on power, and then you can use standard Surefire switches, which works with everything else. And you've got Mod Light and Axion and all these other people working with it. And that is a really good reason to run the legacy body and that, because it's a platform. It's existed long enough, and everyone's making compatible stuff. No one else makes cloud switches. Just cloud.
No, that they are. Well, let's see. There might be one. Let me look quick as I furiously Google Valhalla Tactical. But so I have this on a different rifle. But it's for the Rain, but only for the Rain 1.0.
I mean, I have Rain 1.0, so let's take a look at this.
All right, I'm going to bring it up. So this is something different. I really like it. Just because in running this light, it is an omnidirectional switch.
Yeah.
So this light goes on the back of it goes on, and that is an omnidirectional meaning you can push it in or to any 360 degree and it will be on and it will turn the light on, but it's only momentary. There's no constant.
Okay. Huh.
Actually, give me 1 second. I will be right back and I'll grab one and show you.
Okay. That's an interesting.
Yeah, it is. Now, the interesting thing they do list on their site is, well, you may be told that it will void your rain warranty because it eliminates the cloud's remote switch, but they will replace your rain if it breaks your rain. So it's like,
yeah. So if you look here, I have one on this, and you can see that it's.
Yep.
And this is on an Arisaka M-Lock 4 or like extended mount, and it's push forward any direction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere,
and
any way you hit it, it comes on.
Yeah, and it's handy. And they do have, if I didn't have it on that Arisaka mount, they have a safety lever. Think like a throw lever for an LPVO.
Mm-hmm.
That will, oh, here, actually, it's called a throw lever. And it literally goes on it or on the outside of that cap and rolls it so it can't hit. When you put it on it, you just roll it out of the way and it won't make contact. Roll it back on.
Locks it out.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it does. Is it's just rolls it in and out. So it's, hey, you can't make contact now for like transporting it.
That's nice.
Yeah. I mean, $25 extra, but
it's not that expensive of a Switch.
Yeah, they're I've found these guys at SHOT Show and talked to them for a long time. They're a definite, very neat, like different setup than what you would normally see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And it's something different, and I like different.
But there's always room for doing something different, because how else are we pushing things forward?
Yeah.
Exactly. So now that we keep going here, we talked a lot about like what the gear on the rifles. And you guys were both running, were you running ballistic or bump helmets?
Mine's bump helmet.
Yeah, we were both running hard-headed veterans bump helmets.
Yep.
Right on. And I can, again, this is coming from the guy who's worn a helmet for a long time before. A bump helmet would be a phenomenal thing for a lot of classes, just because, helmets get heavy.
Yeah, especially when you're mounting night vision, then all the metal adapters, and then your counterweight. And then,
this one right here that I have in my hand is the ballistic or the hard-headed veterans ballistic, the ATE, not the Gen 2, and then with bridged PG-25s, which are the same thing. You guys are running only. I'm using the Wilcox bridge for 2 of them now.
Yeah, I'm using Wilcox and then a Mod Armory thermal J-arm, which that was the interesting thing on that. I actually had to take apart the J-arm, reverse the S-curve on it to go the opposite direction because it was always pushing forward. I needed to push rearward with the PG-25. Brought that back in and it worked real nice. Now, of course, Heinrich over here is being like, but I'm an engineer. I have a 3D printer. I'm going to build my own and save a couple $100.
Yep. So, yep, I've got the PG-25 and an airsoft clone Wilcox mount, but then 3D printed
a dovetailed. Yep. Now that is slick. I wish I still had my 3D printer to do things like that, But had I done that, I would not have been set up to do what I did. And,
Yeah.
and then I was like, well, I could just really I have 2 different ones and I can hand them out. Or I can just run them as one.
Mm-hmm.
And we all
I'm
know
tempted
exactly
to get
what.
another PG-25 and do that.
Yeah,
They are
we all,
tempting.
we all know exactly what's going to happen. But I will say that going the route I did with the Wilcox Bridge, it would have been cheaper for me to just buy the Jerry 31s instead of developing it all the way through.
Not to mention, you'd only need 1 battery.
Yeah.
Instead of
There
2.
is that. Yeah.
So that is one of the things that did get brought up in class, is how absolutely ridiculously tiny the PG-25 is to the PVS 14s. It's like half the size.
Yeah, they are very compact, which is the
Nice.
things you give up. You give up some stuff with it, but you also get a lot of weight savings and size savings. It was
emphasis on the size savings.
Yeah.
Really a lot on the size savings.
They are way smaller than everything else everyone had.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even in weight, the weight of that PG-25 compared to a PVS 14, PVS 14 is the optic I've had the most experience with, other than these now. And I know that we all got them at about the same time, so we were on the same type of learning curve. And I noticed one thing looking at all the rifles or guns everybody was using. And all of them but mine are missing one thing, and that's a VZ grip. And the unique features of VZ grips, they're machined from a solid block of G10, and G10 is great because it's durable and doesn't get slippery when covered with mud, blood, or sweat. 17-degree grip angle and wide variety of textures from mild to extreme, as well as color options available. 1911 grips for shooting them at night with extreme customizability, standard slim palms, as well as thumb notches, safety cuts, bottom profiles, and more. More than 25 textures and 27 colors are available. And this coupon code is good for 15% off all handgun and rifle grips, and that code is AR15podcast.
So, Dooley, how long until you're going to start getting them to build you a basically P320 lower?
I am working on it.
Well,
it's 100% possible.
Oh yeah. I mean, the hardest part is just throwing in the magwell adapter in there.
I was just thinking about, they make the aluminum grip frame for the P20.
Oh yeah, if you threw if someone had access to a CNC, like a solid 4-axis CNC machine, you could definitely do. I got a big block of G10. Then it would come out like my Brower Solutions 1811 grip, which I have a love-hate relationship with. It needs more texture.
Well, that can be fixed. You just need to have it, take a Dremel to it.
Yep, I just need to get it stippled.
Yep.
I'm just going, hey, it's cool. But a lot of this class was just getting out, testing stuff, combining stuff. And really, if there's any TLDR, I would say for anybody on your like, well, I don't have any night vision gear. Do I really want to go out and test it? I kind of wish that instead of what me and Heinrich did, where we spent thousands on gear to do a $750 class, we had just gone and paid a couple $100 extra to rent the stuff, because the prices are not terrible. You can rent binos from them. You can rent lasers. I mean, the guys were renting mauls to use in class, which is kind of, that's one of the top tier things you want to use as a maul.
Yep. Yeah. Except for my laser, I'm pretty satisfied with the gear that I was running.
I think when I priced out, it was like $50 to rent a mall for the class. It's like,
yeah, it was like $50 to rent.
multi-$1,000 laser for that. That's
So you said except for your laser, was it just the fact that it bloomed on the targets, or
it's a little bit iffy on, like, you have the 4 screws to 0 instead of
no stops.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's no stops in it. You have to 0 each laser individually. The visible and the IR don't move together. There's no actual
slaved.
Yeah, there's no true off position on the selector switch. So it's just like, yeah, it shows how cheap it is, which if you're wanting to do cheap laser things, it would work great. But this class was a little bit past cheap laser things. So just renting a PEC or any other real laser module probably would have been better.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I do kind of wonder, because the PG-25s are technically Gen 2 Plus. It sounds like mostly they are kind of cranking up the brightness.
Well, that depends on what the Gen 2 Plus means when it comes to the PG-25s.
True. With some of the other ones, what they do is it's basically Gen 2, and then they crank the brightness so it appears brighter to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you might not have as much able to be seen as, say, a true Gen 3 device.
Yeah.
But definitely our lasers had enough power that we were able to work and keep up with the class the whole time. I don't really think we were missing out on anything other than the drill where they had the instructor walking up to us and we're under night vision trying to identify what the hell they're holding.
Well, no one was able to ID that very well beyond where we could.
Even with white light, it was pretty darn close. Granted, they chose one of the dimmest lights to do it.
Yeah. So I don't think that we're behind anyone on the quality of our tubes.
Yeah, but I will say that drill specifically, instructor walking up to you with a white light.
Yeah.
That right there is 100%. It's like, this is why you need a cloud. And I'm not trying to shill for cloud because I have paid full price on every darn cloud light I've ever bought. It's that much of a difference. And I figure we probably could have ID'd that he was walking at us with a knife at 50 to 75 yards instead of like 7 when we were using somebody else's not so up to spec light.
Yeah.
That is one thing that you guys are talking about with like doing your identification and stuff like that. And for anyone who is not following your guys's podcast or YouTube channel, LFD, you guys have done a bunch of like pictures and work and study looking at stuff that's reflecting IR light that you didn't think would be. Did you notice a lot of that in the class?
No, that really didn't come up in class at all.
I just remember you showing me some of the pictures of like the slings just blazing.
Yeah, those Magpul slings just like they reflect insanely.
Yeah, it's like they're made out of that mirror tape.
Yeah,
almost.
Just about half the class was running those, though. Unless you were being directly illuminated with IR, you really couldn't notice it.
Yeah, they blended in fine until it's like what we've noticed is when you flip the IR illuminator on one of the PG-25s is when you see that you really find out if something is IR reflective or not. So it's kind of if you're in the dark and not actively illuminated, you're okay. But if someone shines an IR light at you,
not good.
It'll shine. And then, so you said, I know that in our conversations, you said almost everyone was running suppressed.
There was one person not running suppressed. And I think even at one time they were. And it might have been giving their gun issues, but definitely at the end of the class, we had one person running unsuppressed. it was a night and day difference, and it was very interesting because we were about 20 yards behind the firing line, and every single time you were shooting, you could see a cone of light basically 50 yards wide, just a giant cone forward and to the sides of his muzzle, flashing off the ground every time he fires. It's like, okay, from our testing, I thought what the suppressors were doing, 5.56, 16-inch barrel. I thought that was a lot of light, and then I see this guy shooting. I'm like,
no,
wow, that is a lot less signature.
Yeah, he's setting off a flash bulb every time he pulls the trigger without a fan.
It's illuminating everything. The barricades, the cars, the people, all of it. It's like in white light, you can definitely see the sparks. You can see sparks going down range. You can see a lot when he's firing. And of course, with every gun suppressed, you can see something. But in night vision, you truly see how much light's being given off, suppressed versus unsuppressed.
Yeah.
Now that is awesome. Was anybody recording any of it for the?
There was pictures taken by the class.
Yeah.
The instructors.
The instructors were running around taking pictures, but no one was actually recording or doing anything like that because all proprietary information and ITAR and all that stuff. So it's like, don't record all this.
It was definitely interesting on day 2 when they left the security cameras on at the range because, okay, we're working on the range. The security camera overlooking it's left on, which it wasn't on night 1. And it's like, hey, it's bright as day out here.
Yeah.
Except you can't see anything with your naked eye. It's
it's infrared floodlight.
Which honestly, if you're wanting to defend your house and do stuff like that, seriously, set up IR security cameras around your lives. You don't need to have your lasers. You don't need to have anything else. You're going to have bright as daylight to an analog tube. It will be insanely bright.
It's like, if you can have infrared light all pre-placed so that you don't have to actively throw out any illumination from where you're at, you get to be way more sneaky.
Well, that sounds awesome. And I know that, looking at that, it'd be interesting sometime. I should take that Psionics camera I have and just drive through and see how many Ring doorbells are throwing light out.
All of them.
Yeah, they were
of them.
There were conversations at class about stuff like that they're
seriously, my backyard is light as day because my neighbor in the other yard on the other side of the fence basically illuminates my entire backyard from his camera. And it's my camera that supports night vision can't even see the IR that he's flooding. I flip my PG-25 on and it's clear as day out here.
The analog is like, oh, hey, this is a thing. And it's nuts. I've flipped one on in my garage, and it doesn't matter what's in the way of my garage. One night vision camera that doesn't even have view of the whole thing. It puts out so much IR light. It reflects all the way around the room, and the entire room, except for like one tiny little corner, is bright as day to the actual analog tubes, which is just beautiful. Well, and we talked about this, and PG-25 is probably the cheapest way you can get into analog night vision buying new.
Yeah, I mean,
I
about
do not.
$2,000, I think, is what the price tag was on it. It hasn't gone up.
Yep, right in there, and so that's for buying a new tube. That's as cheap as you're going to find for analog, at least in that quality. You might be able to find some like older Gen 2 or just a tube with no housing.
Yeah. Though I will say one thing for anybody who's looking to do that. Thermal. It is using thermal mounting equipment, not standard PVS 14 mounting equipment. You need thermal mounting equipment. That was a very interesting to try and find that stuff.
That was a fun learning curve for the three of us.
Honestly, the amount of information on those tubes are still so insanely limited.
Yep, and coming up here real soon, I will have Rick's on because they are expanding. They're standing up a whole new branch of Rick's Tactical, which will just be for night vision stuff. And their night vision nerds are going to come on and talk to me later this month. So
nice.
Yeah, apparently May is night vision month for the AR-15 podcast, and
set up your summer right.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly the saddest part of the year. This is when you have the least need for night vision.
Yeah, I know it's because, well, again, it's we do things backwards here, and
but seriously, I would say for anybody, look up the TNVC class schedule. Really, the price, maybe $1,000 or a little more to do the class to them and rent the gear. Slap it on your rifle. If I remember right, they would rent even higher mountings for mounting up your optic, because you want that higher height. Though a few guys were running 193s, and the 193 on an LVPO, and then ring mounting a red dot on top of that. So they were well north of 2+ inches up. I think they were probably running like 2.5, 2.7 for height over bore.
Yeah.
That was causing issues.
Definitely gets, I can see how that would cause some issues.
Yeah.
But people start to, like, we shot a match last weekend, and people were not understanding mechanical offset of their red dots shooting at like 10 yards. And I'm going, no, guys, it's mechanical offset. That's what's causing it. Well, no, it's called mechanical offset. This is a thing. No matter what.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's like 90% of any basic AR course around here. It's like, we're shooting at 7, 10 yards, 5 yards.
Yeah.
Yes, I know the gun's almost touching the target. You don't understand it yet? Okay.
It's like, no, remember, the barrel is way below the red dot. You have to account for that.
Honestly, that is one of the things I ended up liking best about the Romeo 4 I ran with the bullet drop compensator reticle. Because at short distance, I would use the bottom of that, and it's like, that's basically direct impact. That way you don't have to think, all right, I'm having to go how high? It's like, use the bottom one.
Yeah.
So there we go. That was one thing we actually didn't talk about with your guys' setups. What optic were you guys using? I know we said like, we were using a red dot. You were using a Romeo 4, Matt and Heinrich. What were you using?
Romeo 5.
Romeo 5. So both SIGs.
Yeah, I mean, I was using a Romeo 4S with the multiplex reticle, so it has multiple different holdovers. Let's see, and I probably can find that.
Now, those both have night vision settings.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So, were you using the... this is one of those things that, like, night vision aiming gets weird, so it's passive aiming when you're actively using the sights. Or no, it's passive aiming. Passive aiming
is when you're using the red dot.
Yep.
Yeah. If you're not actively throwing photons, it's passive aiming, is how I remember it.
But it's one of those, like, it's backwards to me because like it's passive aiming.
Yeah.
No, I'm actively using my sight. No, you're not. You're passively using your sight.
Yeah.
So here we go. Romeo 4S. This is the dot you were using.
Yeah, actually, I was using a previous version of that, so I'd have the ring and the circle, but you can click on the reticles. It was pretty much the one on the right is the style I was using. So not the left side, the right side with the crosshair. That one. So that bottom 15 MOA would be about the offset I would hold at.
Right on. Well, that's a solid, like those are solid reticles, and I was just curious if you were both, because I know you had those risers on, so I was curious if you were using the, like actually using your optics, or if you were just going, yep, we're just shooting. And
we were doing all the above.
Yeah.
So there were drills where you would use your visible laser, your IR laser, and then you would use your red dot. For part of the class, I was trying to go with my left eye for the monocle and my right eye for seeing through the red dot and doing a bend-in concept. I found that failed for me and I needed to change, because what would happen is other people around me would either flip on their white light or flip on just the flash. So like I would be shooting in the line with a guy that didn't have the suppressor, so I'd be seeing that flash and it's illuminating enough that my brain is bending fine while it's in the dark, and then as soon as it goes non-dark, my dominant eye is trying to take over. So I would pause and my brain's like, I lost it. All right, now I regain it. And that didn't work. So I ended up just swapping my monocle over to my dominant eye and running that way, because in night vision, whichever one can see is going dominant. But if you're using your non-dominant to shoot and using your non-dominant for your night vision device, that becomes dominant. But as soon as you get the light on your dominant eye, it's trying to go back. And my brain can composite the image, but the flashes was causing me to decomposite, and that just didn't work. And once I started running my monocle on my dominant eye, primary, I could do passive aiming, no problem. Though I did need to get that magnifier out of the way, because even though it folded out of the way enough, I could see through. What was happening is it was just close enough where I would get some reflection, and my field of view and depth and brightness would all be changing off of the reflection that would come on the magnifier, causing issues. So getting the magnifier out of the way was a need.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was running my tube on my left eye and looking through my red dot at basically day brightness setting. And I don't know, the way my brain works, I wasn't having trouble with the momentary view from my right eye brightening up. Like my right eye is barely dominant. Like I'm kind of ambidextrously dominant-eyed, however you describe that. So
I'm ambidextrously, like, which eye's your dominant? Yes.
Pretty much. Like, yeah, if I took a long time to figure out how to do the hold up your thumb and close your one eye and close the other eye and figure out which one's dominant, because neither one was taking over. I was like, well, I guess my right eye is a little bit stronger. But so I was able to bend in aim with the bright image through the left eye and the red dot through the right eye and not have any trouble with that. So I didn't. Yeah, it worked out pretty well for me.
But again, that's something that you have to get out there and try.
Yeah.
Because it really depends on the person on, are you going to have this issue or not? For me, all the practicing and testing we'd done beforehand, I'm like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I get in a dynamic scenario, it's like, oh, I'm not fine.
Yeah, you're not going to find out it doesn't work until something like this.
Yeah, this is one of those things where like testing your gear becomes really important. And night vision's a thing you have to take the classes for. Like I know that there is another group that's doing shoots that isn't too far away. It's actually closer to you guys than it is to me. Southern Minnesota, there is a group doing like monthly night shoots.
Yeah, I know the Canton, South Dakota has. I don't know if it's monthly or if they do 2 in the summer. There's I think they're a USPSA club. I'm not sure if they're USPSA like official club or just run their rule book, but I know they've done...
no, they're a USPSA club. I know some guys who belong to that club, and
I work with one of the guys that goes there. and helps put on some of the matches. So
Yeah. Oh, they have actually tonight they had a shoot.
yeah.
But let's see. Hudson Rod Gun and Archery Club in Hudson, Minnesota. As we all furiously Googled to see how far that is.
It's like, put that into maps and see how long a drive it is.
Because getting out and testing it once I've already done it, it's like, no, I need to do this more often.
Yeah.
Yep, and I just happen to live in an area where it's not that hard, but at an organized event, it's very difficult.
Yeah. Being out in the country where you can just kind of, well, I'm going to go down to the berm and do some playing around now that it's dark and try out the stuff, and where I'm going to chase a rabbit through the grove and see how many things I can trip over.
Yep. Which always seems to be the thing that's happening the most.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're even on practice score now for this event. So
nice.
Interesting.
Yeah. Minnesota night vision users. But well, guys, is there anything else you wanted to talk about from the class or your experiences?
I think we went through everything I had.
I will say one thing that we have been testing is like, hey, when do these suppressors start giving off flash? And the entire class was either running 5.56 or 300 blackout, and nobody blew up their gun.
Yay!
But not a single suppressor got enough rounds through it to start giving off illumination. I will say the single most common suppressor type in class was the Dead Air Sandman line, but that was 6 out of 17 people.
That tracks.
And let's see, there were at least 3 S's and 2 Ks, and I don't remember what the other one was.
I didn't think I saw anything longer than an S.
No, nothing was longer than an S.
Well, I have multiple generations of Yankee Hills right here.
There were a couple of Yankee Hills there, and I wouldn't have been surprised to see a couple of Silencer Centrals cans just because of where we're from. And most people taking the class were either from Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, or one guy came all the way up from Texas to take the class.
Right on.
That's a hell of a drive.
Yeah.
It is, but that's why I fly.
Yeah.
So stay tuned as I talk about flying with guns and night vision.
Ooh.
I hope you can take your tubes on the carry-on.
You can. There is a special rider for those, like, as a carry-on. So it's like everybody's like, yeah, dude, just pack your helmet and your tubes and your carry-on. And
Yeah,
I know you
yeah.
really want to.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to let those out of my hand on a plane.
Well, it's where I'm like, all right, yeah, I get it, but I'm also going, still might bring my bump helmet and just throw it in my box because, well, it's way lighter than my ballistic.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, why wouldn't I travel with multiple helmets?
Yeah. It's like
and radios and
yeah, backups are good.
Yeah, I mean, not like I'm sure I'll need one, but no. So, guys, tell them where they can find your show and all of the things you do on the internet.
Well, easily enough for Geeks, Gadgets, and Guns, we're basically listed on every podcast directory there is. So, wow, you know, now that I think about it, we've been there for almost a decade now. So,
yeah,
it's been a long, long time. Lots of episodes.
Yeah, it's lots of content there to go through if you feel like it.
Yep, video games, tech, night vision, guns, you name it.
Yep.
we kind of do it.
Yep, lots of nerdery. If you go on YouTube, you can look up LFD research and see the videos that we've done, going through doing like kind of Mythbusters with guns.
Yeah, and of course, probably one that a good third of you have probably come across is the one where we purposely blew up a 5.56 with 300 blackout and got it on high speed footage.
Yep.
Now, also, you got a 300 rum to break a mile per second.
Yeah, 1 mile per second. Actually, we were tapping Mach 5 because we exceeded like 6,200 and some feet per second with a projectile.
So you made a better hypersonic missile than Russia.
True enough.
Yeah.
But you know what? We probably have about the same accuracy as anyone that Russia would do too. Because damn it, those bows are not accurate.
Yeah, that is a statement you did not think you would hear today.
No.
Nope.
But I will say that is a hell of a lot of powder you put in there.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. No, I remember you guys doing that, and that was a lot of fun. Now, did you have a part with the black powder high point as well?
Yeah, actually, that's one we're working on doing again, because we did one in 9mm. So Pyrodex will run it no problem. Trying to do 9mm with regular real black powder, which Pyrodex is, the burn rates are similar, not the same. Real black powder does not run it quite as well. You can get it to run, but there is a very particular rhythm you have to have when firing it.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
So now I'm gonna put on my nerd hat for a second and say, are you using like 3F or 2F black powder?
3F. Let's see.
It was 3F.
Yeah, 3F, the pistol version.
Okay, because I have played with some 2F stuff doing cannon things, and
yeah, no, we were definitely using 3F, and I was playing with the load and using our ransom rest and everything to kind of run it across the spectrum. Didn't work. And so what I've decided to do is go for the next level on that and pick up a couple of 45 high points, because we know 45s can run on a 1911, at least for a mag or two. The question is, how many mags?
Now I am going to do one of the things that I am known for doing and vomit information that no one cares about, but you guys will find interesting. There is a way and this is something that they used to do to make like proof loads or to do high-powered black powder rounds, and it's backwards from what you think. Instead of adding more powder, it's less.
Yeah.
Because what you would do is you'd want it to have nothing in there for volume, but so that the flakes were underneath of the primer, so that when it would ignite, the primer would hit and go across and actually ignite all of the powder at once. So it turns your cartridge into a grenade.
Yeah, do not try that at home. Definitely do not try that at home.
Yeah, this is a bad idea, but also super way to get powerful loads with black powder. Allegedly.
Yeah, which technically the safe way to do black powder is compressed loads, though. Really, how much of the surface area you get to burn at any time is what's going to really change your burn rates. And in the long term, that's really what I'm interested in, specifically because, what was that, 5 years ago, somebody did a paper on 3D printing powder for ammo.
Was it? That was 5 years ago already.
Yeah, that was like 4 or 5 years ago, and that one, God, that was the episode we had Connor on talking about the Bronco. So that would have been 2020.
Oh, yeah.
So 4 years ago. That was a really interesting episode because we went super hardcore on talking gun nerdery and super heavy projectiles. But I think I just made Nick go, wait, what?
No, I'm into this, and I'm looking at it. I'm also trying to Google the term that I'm trying to remember, and
Yeah.
because it was, I keep wanting to say it's a gain load, but I know it's not because it has to do with. Actually, I think it was. I think it was Gain who came up with it. It's the same guy. The Gain twist is named after.
Mm-hmm.
So, turn of the 19th century or turn of the 20th century rather.
Yeah.
Dude who did a bunch of like extreme long range shooting. He has records that still are held.
Wow.
And he was shooting 45 70s at like a mile. But he would get stuff that was chambered for barrels that were made for smokeless powder, but he would use black powder in them. Doing this where they would he would intentionally make them go off, with higher pressure.
Yeah, detonate rather than burn.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, this dude's experimenting with physics and rocketry before that was a thing.
Yeah.
And it's not really rocketry, it's like backwards rocketry.
All guns are rocket science. All rocket science is guns. It's just which object is moving.
Yeah, it's reverse rocketry.
Yeah.
Which is why I find it so hilarious. People are like, it's suppressors, not rocket science. I'm like, we're talking about channeling the flow of high temperature, high pressure gases.
Well, this
is rocketry. This is suppressors.
It's fluid dynamics.
Yeah.
But we're also talking stuff like, oh, right, high pressure gases, burning. Oh, right. Yeah, that erodes metal.
Well,
just like a rocket motor.
Yeah, it can. And that's again, fluid dynamics. And then you get into thermodynamics to go over how the temperature will deal with air or with mass moving over it. But
yep.
And really, again, we're going, this is why it made so much sense for Eugene Stoner to be jumping back and forth between Armalite and Fairchild, because it's the same science, the same physics, except in one, the item that is doing the burning is what's moving. In the other, the item that's containing the pressure and burning is staying put.
Yeah. And I mean, at least he didn't work for Boeing, because that could have been even more dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking it's like up to 10 whistleblowers, and I'm not sure how many plane wrecks, but it's getting to be a lot.
I mean, I didn't know Hillary Clinton was part of Boeing.
They must have just added her to the board in the last 6 months.
Oh.
Ew.
Oh.
Yes.
They made a pact and they can't get all of us.
Exactly. So also with that, guys, this is going to be the perfect commercial that Jake would be so happy to have for Patriot Patch, patriotpatch.co. And what we were talking about there, that's where you can go to get your morale patches. He calls them gun cleaning mats, but really they're the world's greatest mouse pads. And you can get patches like this one here, one of my all-time favorites, the Director of Rooftop Operations. And that is just a fun patch, and well, that's kind of where we're headed. So,
yeah, here we go.
Yep, I have.
Or, of course, this is a little thing to add extra. Patriot Patch Co. also does your own custom patches.
Oh, and look at that. Geeks, Gadgets, and Guns.
Finally had enough, and these patches, seriously, if you haven't checked out Patriot Patch Co., I don't care how cool or how anything else you get from somebody else. Embroidered and stuff, you can have some cool and neat things, but the quality just does not compare to what you get out of Patriot Patch Co.
No, not at all.
Yeah, the vinyl patches are really nice.
Incredibly so, not to mention the whole 3D effects. Because you can have vinyl patches that are just like, oh yeah, it's 2D. No. Jake, the team, they go all out, 3-dimensional, everything. It's phenomenal.
Yep,
that is awesome. And well, guys, thank you so much for coming on tonight with me. And do you have any parting words for everybody here before we sign off? And this is it's like a halftime episode for you guys.
Kind of.
A little bit, but honestly, guys, go take classes, learn to use your kit. And today is not tomorrow. We just saw what happened in the last couple of weeks where people are being put on the entity list. Corporations in China. Like, there's a possibility you might not be able to get the PG-25s we got in 6 months or even 2 because certain distributors might not be able to get it or not. The questions are still in the air. Right now is the golden time to gear up for if things go sideways. Get your gear, learn how to use it, understand its limitations, and understand your limitations.
Get training, go to matches, see how you're doing.
And your gear will break on you. I don't care how good your gear is, it's going to fail on you on one level or another partway through that.
Have it come apart at a match or a class where you can learn from it and fix it.
Not when your life's on the line.
I was shooting the AFSAM match once, which is a international NATO match, and we're talking about training with some of the guys from the All Guard and All Army teams. And one of them said a pearl of wisdom to me that I went, oh, hey, that's like, I'm going to have to remember that. And he goes, yeah, well, I didn't come up with it. So, but that is amateurs train till they get it right and professionals train till they get it wrong. And that same thing works with your gear because it's, hey, we're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing until I hit the, nope, all right, I failed. Now I have to go back and keep going to get better. Instead of training to, hey, yay, I hit the target. Now let's quit because I'm happy.
Yeah, and I will say, me and Heinrich are guys to min-max. The truth is, for me, I'm a bullpup guy. Bullpup left, right, and center. I like that. It's short, it's compact, it keeps the energy. Though I also had complexity to my guns in doing so. But even at that, I ran an AR-15 in this class because I didn't want to pay for 308 ammo at 500 rounds.
You know,
not in today's prices.
Speaking of 308, I ran 100 rounds of 308 today. And I routinely shoot some 308s and stuff like that, but I had two that were testing and standing doing 50-yard like ready up double taps. I forgot how important it is to make sure that you have proper shoulder cup seat.
Yeah.
Every time.
With 5.56, you can do a hell of a lot of weird stuff. What? Brace the buttstock in my armpit in my arm? Yeah, you can do that. You can shoot just like this. Brace the buttstock back there. That'll work perfectly fine with 5.56. You're not going to be doing all that well with 308 doing that.
Yeah, it's okay. What? Oh, yeah, that's right. I have to actually work at shooting these and do the fundamentals. It doesn't just stay put.
Flip side is with 308, you can make noticeable impact at 1,000 yards.
Yep.
5.56, you can do stuff. Actually, that's probably another one we should mention. One of the videos we did on YouTube 6 years ago, M193, we actually went through and tested out of what velocity does your projectile stop fragmenting to understand it. And we did confirm the Army's findings with completely independent research on that. And it's really worth the watch. Not many people have seen that one, but understanding what your rifle can do, what your terminal ballistics are going to look like, and what distances you're dealing with.
Yeah.
If you're going to count on saving your life with these guns, yeah, your bulk 5.56 ammo can do okay, but you need to know distances. That's incredibly important.
Yeah, that's like personally, I keep training loads, and then I have rifles zeroed with defensive loads, which are definitely not my 55 grain ball ammo.
But that gets really expensive, and people have lives, people have families. Everything is insanely expensive. How many trips to the grocery store are you gonna, blow off to buy one case of ammo? Or how many cases of defensive ammo? How much are you going to have if everything goes to FUBAR?
Yeah, I have found that I made the switch from running 77 grain open tip match to I really like the performance of the Hornady Frontier 68 grain, which was substantially cheaper to buy by the case lot.
I mean, there is something to be said for Black Hills ammo, but oh god, those prices.
Yeah. Yep. That is very much so true. Again, thank you so much to you guys for coming on. We will sign off now, and make sure you check out their show, Geeks Gadgets and Guns, here in a little bit, or in a couple weeks, to find out more about the class, because they're going to talk about things that we didn't, and do that in their own very special way. And
chase rabbits for hours.
Yep. Live long and prosper, y'all.
We managed to not do that too bad today. But you folks out there, you stay safe and stay armed. Support the people who support the show. Primary Arms, VZ Grips, 4Patriots.com, and Patriot Patch Company. Be sure to check us out on social media. AR-15 Podcast 2.0 on Instagram, AR-15 Podcast 2.0 on YouTube, AR-15 Podcast 2 on Twitter, AR-15 Podcast on Facebook, and wherever podcasts are found. If you just want to drop us a line, let us know how we're doing, or give us a show idea, make sure to send that email to AR-15podcast 2.0 @gmail.com.